I am gonna do it. I ain't got time to waste. Just got back from King Shocks. Went over the shock package with Brett, and he got us lined up with all the parts that we need to make this thing a roller for the show. Both trucks are incomplete. I know it might seem weird to take a truck to the show incomplete, but I kind of like the way it shows like that. You can't hide anything, so all your welds are exposed, nothing's covered with paint, you know, the body is what it is, just all the work is exactly what it is. Plus, people like to see the construction as far as, you know, when it's like half built. That's a nice way to view something, especially if you're building something for yourself and you kind of, because this is what we've done in the past too, we'll look at something and go, oh, that's such a cool way. We'll put our own spin on it maybe, but it's just a cool way to kind of see how things are built and how they're constructed, and it might help people that are building stuff for themselves. Okay, so we're getting ready. This is kind of the mad thrash week. Well, it's been 3 weeks actually that we've been thrashing, getting ready for Off-Road Expo. We're taking 2 trucks. Yeah, and I don't think we've actually done a YouTube episode or shown a lot of the 65 F100 in the past episodes. So let's go over this thing a little bit and get into it. So 1965 F100. Actually, we built this thing for 2 different people. So the first client that we started this with, it ended up costing more than he thought, and his budget was pretty tight. So he put it up for sale. The client that owns it now came in and purchased it, and he had a bigger budget to work with. So we've actually upgraded a lot of the stuff on this thing, you know, between the 2 different clients. But initially it had an LS3, like the 525 horse GM LS3. Now it has a 427 inch LS3, but with LS7 cylinder heads, Frankenstein heads, and it has the Magnuson 2650 supercharger, the big Magnuson supercharger on it. So that's one of the upgrades we did. We used to have 2.5, 3.5 shocks on it. Now we have 3.0, 4.0 shocks all the way around on it. We had some Threat Motorsports beams, nothing wrong with them, but we decided we would design our own billet uprights and our own billet beam ends and aluminum billet steering swingers and stuff like that. So we designed all that stuff. Also billet aluminum radius arms. So we got 70, 75 radius arms and swingers on it. So that's some of the other upgrades. I think we were on 39s, now we're on 40s. The Walker Evans wheels, so that's pretty cool to be able to upgrade to that. And then in the back we had a camber rear end. Nothing wrong with it again, but I personally feel like TubeWorks makes the baddest rear end on the planet for these off-road trucks. And so we have the TubeWorks cross tie differential and the TubeWorks chromoly housing. We're in the 4-inch 250 watt chromoly housing in this thing. We upgraded to our rear links instead of the Threat Motorsport links that it had on it before. So we're working with 21 inches of steerable front wheel travel. All of our stuff as far as the steering mechanism stuff, like the hydraulic ram and the steering box, is all the billet stuff from Charlie at Power Steering Solutions. We use him exclusively for all of our steering stuff for the off-road trucks. In the rear of the truck, we have 3.0 16-inch coilovers and 4.0 18-inch 7-tube bypasses on our trailing arm. Had a Threat Motorsports, I think, had Threat Motorsports trailing arm on it before, and so we just decided to upgrade with our chromoly trailing arm. So we have 30 inches of rear wheel travel. So the transmission in this thing, I know we discussed the engine, but the transmission in this thing is a SFI case. They call it a Super 80 case, billet internal 4L80 from Maximum Transmission. Chris at Maximum does all of our off-road racing transmissions and most of our street car stuff too. So to keep it cool, we have 2 CBR transmission coolers with 2 14-inch fans on it. And so it does a really good job of keeping the transmission right at that 160, 170 degree temperature range. And then our fuel cells are done by Harman fuel cells. So we have an 80-gallon cell in this area right here. And then we have 2 A1000 pumps on the inside. And then we have 2 filters and then like this Y system, so we can switch on the fly from one pump to the other. So it's nice to have some redundancy like that. So if you have a fuel pump failure, you can just grab another pump. Drive shafts are designed, they're just not on the vehicle at the moment. It's just easier to push them around without it. And we always do our signature, you know, dual spare, tire cage, cam lock handle. And then you can pull a pin for the cam lock handle, a quick release pin, or you can do the quick release pin, and then you can get to the trunk. So got a decent sized trunk in here, so you can carry, you know, all kinds of stuff with you. Sleeping bags, food. You can put your wife in there if she's bothering you or something. I don't know, just kidding. But big trunk, it's nice. Dual batteries, 2 Optima batteries. So that's pretty much everything on the exterior of the 65. Let's go on the inside and check out the inside, and then I'll show you how the Switch Pros work. Okay, Ryan, so on the inside, we like these things to look nice and be comfortable on the inside. So super comfortable Corbeau Baja XP seats, just recovered and restitched with our upholstery guy that does a lot of our hot rod stuff. So super nice upholstery. One thing that I really liked about the inside is a lot of times we'll build an aluminum dash or build our own custom dash and have it wrapped. Well, the 65 F100 just has a really cool shape to the original dash. So what we did is we made it bolt in and bolt out. So it's removable. Once we made it removable, we just took the dash over and had that upholstered and covered. And I love the way it came out. Ratchet shifter, so it shifts like a sequential. You know, you got first, second, third, it just ratchet through that. This is more of a drag race style shifter, but we like to use them in the off-road trucks. Rugged radios, we always run rugged radio stuff. We have vintage air in this thing, so it has air conditioning, heat and air. Both owners actually wanted analog gauges in front of the driver, which is kind of cool to have some analog mechanical gauges. And then the center screen, the Holley LCQ screen in the center, that also shows you all the engine functions, plus the stuff that the analog gauge doesn't show. So you can get air-fuel ratio there. You can get air temp sense. That you put your air temp sensor and you get your air temps there for the supercharger coolant. Like you can get just a ton more stuff on that LCQ screen through the Holley Dominator system. We're running a Dominator on this one. So the Terminators and stuff are good for the streets. Like I like those fuel injection systems and those computers, but the HP and the Dominator, I think the Dominator is the most expandable, but it's fully potted. So it lends itself really well to the off-road environment where dust and dirt and vibration is coming into play. So on to the Switch Pro stuff. So these are two 12-wire Switch Pros. We don't have any of the Legends on there because I wasn't sure exactly where we're going to place everything yet. So they're naked of Legends right now. So you can see the lighted buttons, but I think this will be like main power. This will be start. But right now we have that hooked up. So that's our front light bar. These are our this is the linear actuator, hooked to the linear actuator for the light bar. So that ratcheting sound is the clutch inside the linear actuator, which is a nice feature. You can't over actuate and start bending components or bending tabs and stuff. So that's a nice feature on the linear actuator. Now, what we learned in the wheelies is we've had, like my Ranger has lights on the Switch Pro, which works out exceptionally well. But the light bar in the wheelies, and we'll do it on this one, you know, our wiring guy, he builds us a piece that bolts in off of this, and it has up-down buttons right here. So you could actually adjust the light bar while you're driving, which is nice when you're in the sand dunes and you're trying to aim up over hills. You can actually do it on the fly without letting go of the steering wheel, which is a kind of a nice feature as well. So Camberg turning brake handle in here. You know, usually don't travel that far. We don't have, the brakes aren't bled. We don't have any fluids in any of the systems yet because we're going to take everything apart for paint and powder coat. But that pretty much wraps up the inside of this thing. We have some interior lighting. We always do interior lighting. I'll see if I can find it. I think it might be, yep, that one. And these may not be where the buttons are placed, you know, in the end. This is just what we wired up just to get everything to work for the show. Okay, so the second vehicle that's under construction here that we're taking to Off-Road Expo is this Crew Cab Chevy, 1983 Chevy truck, which the owner of it affectionately named it C30 King George. So that's what it is on Instagram if you want to see some content on it. So, and some of the stuff that I don't believe we had completed on the last episode is a lot of the rear cantilever stuff wasn't finalized. We finalized the chromoly snouts that the rocker assembly pivots on. The rocker assembly is bolted together. Everything is bolted to the rear end. The rear end links are done. All that stuff is on. And then we had a bypass tube that was crashing into the lower section of the plate work for the lower shock mount. And so Brett at King Shocks changed that location of that for us. So now we're ready to put that shock on for the show so that we'll have the coilover and the bypass shock on the back here. Just, you know, for the show. They don't have oil in them, they don't have nitrogen in them, but in case we need to make any other changes. But the shock package will be on for the show complete. Bump stop mounts were not on, so we have the bump stop mounts on as well. And man, all that worked out incredibly well. Just my hats off to Sean Kepler for drawing all this stuff for us. And so beyond wrapping up the cantilever system and perfecting all that, The other things that we have on the vehicle ready to go is they're actually mock-up pieces. Our actual rear differential and front differential are not completed from TubeWorks, but we got a set of mock-up ones for the show for them. So we have a high pinion cross-tie TubeWorks rear differential in the rear of this thing, and then we have the standard low pinion but narrow differential in the front for the front wheel drive. So, and I think the other last thing, maybe we might have a fuel cell in this thing if we can get one today before we leave for the show. If not, then it will go without it, but we do have the cradle done. This is the cradle assembly that holds the fuel cell. There's a big hump on the bottom side of the fuel cell to clear the drive shaft at full compression, but this whole assembly, actually the fuel cell bolt goes into this, and then the whole assembly just goes up from the bottom of the truck and then bolts captures on the side right here. So super easy way to get the fuel cell in and out. So we had just gotten back from King, picking up the last of the stuff that we need to get all the shock package on the vehicle before the show. So we needed heavier front springs, so we have the uppers and lowers for the front coilover, the heavier spring. We were needing one more reservoir for the 4.0 bypass for the front, so this is the last reservoir that we needed so that we could fabricate the mounts on the chassis for the reservoirs. The two rear shocks I had mentioned, this is the tube that was hitting. It was actually clocked over exactly on the bottom of the shock, so we moved it off basically to like the 11 o'clock position, and that way it's out of the way. When this thing bumps out, the shock comes down, it won't contact our chassis. Rear springs, again, none of the spring rates are perfected at this stage of the game. These are just mock-up springs and guesses to what we're gonna need for spring rates. All that can be calculated out after we have travel numbers and all of the weight of the vehicle. The vehicle needs to be complete, full of fuel, ready to go to make those calculations. So these are just to hold it up for the show. So. And then Ryan, off topic, but while we're over here on the bench, this is the heat treated arm. This is how an arm looks after it comes back from heat treat. They blast it after they heat treat it, but this is the mezzanine arm for the Blazer. This is a spindle that we're putting together for that 2000 GMC. And then this is the cross member for the white trash El Camino, which I'll introduce that vehicle to you in a little bit. So the 89 Blazer project, we haven't physically made a lot of progress on it. The chassis is still on the chassis table as it was last episode. The forward progress that has been made on it, which was not, out of our hands, was Jason Hurd, the gentleman that's drawn this truck. He fired off all of the DXF files and all the information over to Cal West. Cal West cut all the tubing and notched all the tubing and CNC bent all the tubing to build the chassis of the truck. So that's what's on this pallet right now. So it came wrapped up and we unwrapped it. So don't say we didn't do anything. We did unwrap the pallet. So, it's not a lot of work, but we did physically do that. Other than that, yeah. And then also Jason fired, we need 2 more of those towers, and all the fixture stuff is off at Laser getting cut for us right now. So probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week, we'll be slamming tubes on this thing. So that's going to be awesome. So excited to show you that in the next episode. So Pantera, we got a lot of vehicles and 4 guys. We will get to it hopefully very, very soon. And so on the 2000 GMC, it's sitting where it was last episode, but as I showed you prior, to right now, we have the spindle being welded up on the bench, and as soon as the spindle's welded up, we'll fit the spindle in here, we'll cycle, make sure everything works the way we think it's going to. It should, we did it in the computer. And after that, it's just axles, limit straps, then take everything apart, paint, powder coat. I think you want some of the stuff nickel plated. We'll get that done, and then this thing's out and down the road. So if it's still here next episode, it should be a driver, and we'll show you that. If not, it'll be gone. But hopefully you guys get to see it. 56 Chevy. The progress we've made on this thing, we've actually made quite a bit of progress. It's just not notable as far as big changes physically. That's because we're into wiring. We wrapped up all the plumbing on it. We actually have the front core support designed to hold the radiator, 2 transmission coolers, the intercooler, and the AC condenser, all in basically one bracket assembly. So we got that back from the coder. That's sitting upstairs wrapped up so it doesn't get scratched. But I can show you kind of what we've accomplished as far as wiring. We have the coil packs wired in. I think all the sensors on the engine are wired. I'm not sure if the brakes were bled last time I was here. I don't think so, because I think it was on the 2-post lift. So the brakes are done. They're plumbed. They're bled. The brakes seem to work exceptionally well so far. Obviously, we haven't stopped the car, but we have a really, really good pedal. All the AC lines are designed. That wasn't done last time. So we've made quite a bit of progress, but ultimately we're into wiring right now with this thing. So as soon as we're done wiring this portion of the engine, we'll put all that stuff in, bolt the exhaust on, get this thing fired up, and get it on the dyno. So we're actually looking pretty good. We're probably 2 weeks from wrapping this thing up. So that's pretty cool. I know a lot of people follow me for the 510 content, and I apologize for not making a ton of progress on the 510. The reason why is we ordered a lot of the electronics for it, and I'm waiting for some of that stuff to get here. Once I get all those sensors, we'll put the engine and trans in there. It's ready to go in the car. In the meantime, since I have ADD so terribly bad, I have a bunch of stuff laying around the shop. I have an extra engine, a nasty little small block 383 14-to-1. Used to run consistent 960s in a guy's Nova. I have an extra trans with a trans brake, converters, radiators, shifters, ignition systems. Like, we've been doing this for a long time, and we just end up with extra stuff. So we were gonna kind of sell those things off individually, and it just seems like it takes a long time. You got people coming by the shop all the time. It's just interruptions. So I decided, hey guys, let's do a team building car where, you know, sometimes in the evening, if we don't have to be home right away, we all chip in and we work on something. Everybody gets to drive it. Everybody gets to have fun with it. So I found a 1966 El Camino and picked this thing up. And so my buddy's been helping me tear it apart. Every single bolt was rusted so bad that I ended up torching them off. Like, we couldn't break them loose even with, you know, penetrating oil or anything like that. So probably 60 of the fasteners had to get torched off. But what's weird is the body itself isn't terribly rusted. It's just a lot of the stuff underneath. The frame's in really good shape. So my friend that was helping that, he affectionately named it White Trash. So this is our White Trash El Camino project. And it's just me and the guys after hours and, you know, weekends here and there, buy pizza, work on the car. So we're gonna ladder bar it. We're gonna put that small block that we have in it, turbo 400 transmission with a brake, 5,000 stall converter, 2 aluminum seats, and if it doesn't help you go fast, it's not going on the car. We're gonna do aluminum flooring. We'll do a steel firewall for safety. Per NHRA rules, you're supposed to do a steel firewall or a steel floor under the driver. I'm not going to, because I don't plan on doing any NHRA sanctioned events with this thing. One of the other fun things that we ended up doing is, and I didn't know this myself, but you know, the A-body, it's called an A-body, which are Chevelles and El Caminos and wagons. Another little notable fact that a lot of people don't know is wagon frames and El Camino frames come fully boxed. So they're boxed on the inside where the Chevelles are open in the midsection. So it's actually a stronger frame. The El Caminos use wagon frames because it has this little pocket in the back of the El Camino, and that's normally where your feet would go when you're sitting in the back of the vehicle. But they're still all A-body frames and front suspension and stuff. So just new ball joints, keep the steering stock in the front, stock arms. They're actually pretty light, believe it or not. So we'll just powder coat the frame once we're done plumbing everything and wiring everything. I got a new dash. Dash is so rusted out, it's pretty bad. Just gonna make it a solid car. We're not gonna do body work. We're not gonna do paint. We're not gonna fix any rust on the outside of the car. Just stuff like the inside dash is rusting out pretty bad. But one of the neat things that I learned that I didn't know, love learning this new stuff, is on the A-bodies, and I'm not sure if they're all this way, some people might be able to correct me that might know more than me about it, but if you take the driver's side motor mount and you flip it over to the passenger side, and then the same thing vice versa the other way, it moves the engine back 7 inches. So we went ahead and pushed the engine back 7 inches. I'll just cut this front of the cross member right here and plate and cap this so that the harmonic balancer and the pulley system doesn't hit the frame. And we'll just build the floor and the firewall around it. This thing should actually transfer and hook up pretty good. We're not spending a ton of money on it. We're using a lot of stuff laying around. So even though we're doing a ladder bar system, I decided to I had some extra 4-link brackets. So we welded 4-link brackets on the rear end, had an extra housing. I did have to order a center section and gears, and I'll have to order axles because we don't have the right length axles. But the wheels and tires, these are the dyno rear tires that we use on the dyno. So we'll use those. I had extra wheels for the Camaro. So it's just nice to get rid of a lot of stuff. We'll have fun with it. And then this thing will go up for sale. And instead of selling everything off individually, we'll just sell the whole car, a good working car. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode. We got tons of work before Expo. Yeah, and one thing to look forward to next episode is we have the Camaro pretty much ready to go and ready to test. So if that thing's working the way we think it's gonna be working, maybe we'll capture some good nitrous burnouts on that thing. So that should be pretty fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe, ask me questions. I always like to answer people's questions, and yeah, man, enjoy.